pretty good today. A wonderful day today as well for me.
So, of course, like your day is all like, it's all about PMO, clients coming through PMO and managing all the kind of stuff. I can imagine you're dreaming of this, right? Even while you're sleeping.
Indeed. Actually, in fact, you are true. That's what exactly happened last night. I was thinking about PMO in my dreams. So yeah, very excited about it. In fact, about this journey, and wanted to share with a lot of people who are listening into this as well about PMO, my journey, and how they could also take the transformation into the PMO journey as well.
Great. I mean, I think for many people, Nehru, like PMO is like a secret code word. When you start, when you just throw in the word in like in the middle of a corporate meeting, people start switching off. Here they go. They're going to be starting to talk Japanese again. They just don't understand the entire thing. So
in fact, in a government department, if you say PMO, it actually stands for Prime Minister's Office.
which is great too. You know, that gives you that kind of important attention that you want to get.
Yeah.
So like, I'd love to know more about the PMOs in Asia Pacific, Nehru. Like, what are the current challenges that you're seeing there? What are they seeing there as challenges existing right now in Asia Pacific area?
Actually, if you look at generally, before I go to Asia Pacific specifically, if you really look at organizations that wants to implement a project management office or program management office, there's quite a number of benefits they got to look at generally before going into specific about the regional part of it. Number one is when you look at some organizations, they look at PMO as a support function. This is very sad, actually. It's a good thing for some organization, but for some large organization, when they look at PMO, it's more like just providing them templates. Okay, here's your project management status report templates. I know they only go at that level. But there's more than that, actually. There's a lot more benefits, for PMO. Like, for example, you can have a standards and best practice for your organizations. You can look at PMO being the voice of the projects as well. They can come up with a standard dashboards for all the projects. Everybody is streamlined towards using the same templates. You can look at governance angle, for example, resource allocation. Instead of saying, okay, these resources are fixed for one project, but we can actually share resources so that we can have a proper utilization of resource in the organization. We can also do a knowledge management transfer, and PMO can actually come in and do some support as well, coaching, training for your project managers, and also look at quality aspect of it. For example, providing audit support for the team, and all of these are some of the benefits that you look at when it comes to PMO. So answering your question, Doa, which is about challenges of PMO in Asia Pacific, actually it's I've worked in many cultures before, as in whether it's Australia or whether it's Europe or American organization, including Asia Pacific. Asia Pacific has its own challenges. Right?
Tell us about it. Tell us about it. How different? What's the difference there?
I think the biggest one is culture challenge. That's the one thing that you look. Like, for example, if you look at Australians, or they are more direct. They don't have anything in their heart. Actually, they are very direct when they are communicating. But that concept, when you bring it to Asian, for Asians, for them, they are not that. They don't have that culture of being direct. They prefer indirect, more polite way of talking, and do not actually embarrass others in front of them, or you look at one organization that I worked in. There was one Japanese guy and there was one Australian, and the Australian was being very direct about the performance, but that's not really how Japanese work. They prefer an approach where it's more of a personal approach and so on. So there's in Asia, there's this thing called concept of face, right, where you don't embarrass another person in front of others. So that's one thing you got to look at, and the other one I learned myself is about being modest, being humble when you actually look at somebody, or when you approach somebody, instead of being direct, right? And actually this is ideal model for servant leadership in Asia. So we become the more like a servant for the people that we serve, our organization, and also for our team members as well. I think the other one that I look at is if you don't go by textbook concept, if you really wanted me to be a bit honest about Asian Pacific culture is, there might be some reluctance in terms of having an open communication. I mean, we don't talk about it, of course, in project management and PMO, we always talk about, hey, everybody is equal. But the reality is different on the ground. You know, when they talk about race, religion, diversity, it's ideal, but what's on the ground is a bit more different as well.
So are you
There's
telling
another
me
one
you
more
need
thing
a
that I
very
wanted to
high,
highlight.
are you telling me you need higher emotional intelligence when you're
Precisely,
dealing with people in Asia
precisely,
Pacific?
precisely. And it doesn't happen to everyone. Those who have the knowledge on that area, they try to implement in the organization, but it cannot be rolled out in an organization with more than 1,000 employees or whatsoever. It's something that the top leadership has to take that approach to
Gradually,
gradually. Yeah, exactly.
because
And
they will
one
not
more
be expressive about their objections. They'll just
precise,
resist subtly.
exactly. And
Oh,
here we have one concept in especially in the Asian culture is the concept of making mistakes. If you look at countries like India, China, and all of this stuff, you look at the parents and how they treat their children when it comes to exam, when it comes to study. They want their kids to be the number one, So they don't have this concept of tolerating mistakes or failing and all of this stuff. So the kids are actually brought up in an environment where uh, they can't
there's
afford to make
pressure,
mistakes.
pressure,
Yeah, pressure,
pressure.
exactly. Yeah.
And
So
it's
these
like shameful
are
to make a mistake. It's not like part of the process. It's not acceptable.
precisely. Yeah. And the
And like,
thing
is
is,
it?
these concepts are inherited in a corporate world as well as they grow up.
Of course, the same people go into the corporation with all of the mindset there,
Yeah,
and like nobody likes to make mistakes or like go ahead and say it's my thing. I did this because everybody's gonna start,
exactly.
eating them up.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, as you were talking, you mentioned how PMOs actually help in resource allocation. The word sounds easy and smooth. Is it like this in real life? Is it
In
easy
what
to
ways?
actually allocate resources? Yeah, because like maybe go into a corporation that tell you, oh yes, we can allocate our resources. We don't have a problem with that. And they
It's
actually have no idea what they're talking about.
it's territorial. So it's like if you have multiple project managers, and they will say, no, this is resource is mine. I'm not going to release, and I do not know whether this guy will come back to my project. So they will actually lock them out. They don't look at it holistically that these are actually organizational resources. They look at them as their project's resources. So from an organizational perspective, is a lot of wastage in terms of money-wise and also resource utilization.
What do you think the solution is? Because you just brought my attention to how important emotional intelligence and is to minimizing resistance. And as you said, like for example, with resource allocation, you will find people trying to own the resources that they have without sharing it, without knowing how this can hurt the organization, without actually being confrontational about it. They'll come up with excuses, a million
Yeah,
excuses are irrelevant, just to keep the resources. What do you think is a solution for this, or people
actually,
who are going to work with in Asia Pacific Nehru?
precisely. Actually, that's where the PMO comes in, right? I mean, instead of saying, individualistic project managers looking after their own resources, so the organization have to realize the importance of PMO, and the PMO actually comes in to help them. Actually, we are more into facilitators and consultants trying to help out in number one is delivering strategic objectives of the organization. So they have to realize that. Number two is the resources are actually pooled of resources that's being managed by PMO. And then when they are required or desired by the priority projects, they are assigned to the resources. It's not like, I'm not going to give you resources or whatsoever, but we look at the project priority and then we release them and then we take out and pass it to another project and so on. So in terms of utilization, PMO can see a overall, and even the senior manager, CEO is able to see overall utilization of the project's resources. So you won't have, an organization where the team members are, asking the boss's boss, I've done my job. Is there anything else for me to do? You know, when an
Go to the
employee
social
asking, yeah, when an employee is asking that, that means their motivation level might not be there. So you got to properly utilize them at least about 80 to 100% of their utilization per day. And that's where we have dashboards in PMO that we can track all of this utilization as well.
So it's really like not about a set of templates, not an office that offers a set of templates and, you know, can answer a couple of questions. It's allocating resources is just one thing that a PMO can do.
It's more than that. It's more than that. Actually, PMO
Can you
also
tell me
have
more
to
about
look
risk?
at, sure. The other one
Like
that
risk,
we have to do
how
is
do they
like
help us?
the one that I mentioned just now about the culture of making mistakes. I think that's something that a PMO can help as well, create that environment where we tolerate mistakes, right? And we let them make small mistakes so that they can learn. Because for me, the concept is this way. The more mistakes you make, you should actually be celebrating because you are leading towards a success in the future. So if you are compressing the, you know, the level of mistakes, you don't allow them to make mistakes, you can't be a winner in future, right? So the more mistake you make, so you should be celebrating. And in fact, the work, the other one that I would like to emphasize is make a work to be a fun place. Actually, you're coming to your organization to have fun, right? So when you have a culture this way, when you create a culture of fun, people will enjoy doing organizational projects as well. I think that, and this is human nature. Everybody loves to play, so just like your kids. So we should create that kind of culture in the organization as well.
So like taking off the pressure, acknowledging the mistake, writing into the lessons learned, highlighting it, hey guys, this doesn't need to happen again, and discussing it all the way through, then just keeping it there for the future is going to be avoided.
Precisely, yeah. And I do something else as well. I love car racing. I do go-karting as well.
What is that?
So what I'll do is I'll bring my teams for go-kart. Yeah, and it's all about fun. And it's not just about for my team as well. My sponsor, my clients, my contractors, whoever they are, as long as they are part of my team, let's have fun. And the thing is, their mindset changes after that when it comes to team building and team bonding, and they will perform all out for you as well.
It's like opening new neurological pathways for them to breathe and think about new ideas, being creative, taking the pressure off that, you know, like sort of keeps the creativity down. You don't want them to be, you know, low. You always want them to be in this, you know, room where they can grow.
You can't have innovation when you're under, you know, under pressure.
Yeah, and I think you can't learn also, Nehru, when you're under pressure. You just panic under pressure, right?
Exactly.
So like who are the people who you approach when you walk into an organization, Nehru? Who are the stakeholders who will actually help build this awareness of what are PMOs actually? It's not like this concept of being a cornered office with a couple of templates can answer a couple of questions. Who can help you with who can help people with this? Who can help PMOs be acknowledged in the region where you're working?
Actually, the number one person is always the number one person, which is the CEO and the senior managers, or those who have very crucial stake in the outcomes of the projects, like the senior vice presidents. I think they are crucial in getting the support, because most of the organization, when you say, I want to implement something innovative, and when it's coming from lower level employees, or, you know, executives, or even managers, in Asia Pacific, they are looked upon as you are just another lower level person, and the voice is not usually heard in this part of the region. But if it's coming from top down, that works. That works because people actually tend to listen. Because it's you know, authority is very important in this part of the region as well. So they get things done through the authority. So most of the senior managers are very, very crucial in this. And of course, if you have the PMO directors, if you have a PMO department, that's ideal. And they will go all out in assisting you in the organization to set up all of these things for you as well.
So like the head of the PMO department is going to help you if they're there, the CEO, if there is no like big support with PMO, and they will rule. Do you think like they will, what do they do? Do they spread the message that we are planning to walk into a project-sized environment? We'll be building a PMO in our organization that's going to be helping us. Like, what are they supposed to do to actually, give you way to go into the organization and start, working with all of the people, all of the personalities, all of the psychologies there, the
Yeah,
psyches there? How
it's
how can they open way for you?
it's a big area, right? When you talk about psychology, all of this actually plays a big role in this. But very important, number one thing that you got to do, remember what's the definition of a leadership? Without a vision, there's no such thing as a project. So therefore, CEO and PMO directors, they must they must have a big vision, where they are heading, what's their direction like, what are the various initiatives that we are doing for the organization. And we must also look at how we can actually get these people to be involved and get excited about these projects as well. And throughout the assignment, you got to keep on motivating and inspiring them, get them involved, get them, reward them, recognize them, and they'll be part of that journey throughout as well.
Yes. And now here's something that always worries me. So I mean, PMO people, PMO consultants are supposed to be getting help from people with authority, decision makers in the company. And then they're going to slowly open a way for them to start, working with functional departments, with, major stakeholders. But what happens if that doesn't happen? If companies stay as is, the way they are, not acknowledging the value of, or understanding the value of PMOs, what happens? The solution doesn't get resolved.
Actually, it happens, right, sometimes. So number one is the role of project sponsor is also very crucial in this. So functional managers are crucial because here's the thing, nobody likes change in their organization. So when a PMO director try to show off by saying, we are going to implement this and it'll affect your functional department, obviously they will be reluctant. So you got to sell the idea. It's all about selling the idea as well. And you got to tell them about how it benefits. So instead of just directly implementing, you got to sell them the idea, how they actually benefits the functional departments. And the other thing is, since you're talking about psychology, let them be the champion rather than PMO being the champion. That means let the functional managers, let them lead the entire initiative and let them be excited and let them actually get their team members to be part of
How
this.
do you do that? How do you do that, Nehru?
That's a lot of skills, isn't it? That's
Of
where the
course.
psychology comes in, the way you speak to the functional managers and how you actually tell them, what kind of benefits you are getting for your functional department as well. And you got to also tell them how your team members is going to benefit. Every functional manager have their own KPIs. For example, they might have to improve, in terms of service by certain percentage, or they have to increase by revenue by certain percentage. You can give them ideas and tell them, let me help you in this area, but you take the lead and we'll be there supporting you, kind of thing. So
Do you think they have to do research before they go ahead and sit with them to know the real pain points and sort of, like put these on the table and tell them, I'm here to help you with this, and this? Or do you think this is like, do you think so?
It's very much depends on the organization. There's no one solution for this, but for some organization, I think the right approach for PMO will be support, right? You tell them that I am backing you up, don't worry, and then you give them all the relevant skills and knowledge and support necessary and let them lead. And you just watch them perform, right? So that's one way. I mean, that's one way of leading the entire PMO initiative as well. Of course, the other way, the right way, the normal way is PMO do everything, right? But in terms of resistance, there might be there if PMO goes direct.
You think if you as the supporting a company with their PMO, and of course like doing all of the research to understand the pain points of other functional departments, do you think it would be threatening maybe to some of the functional heads to let them know that you actually do know their pain points, or do you think that could be motivating to them, that you're going to help them on
Okay, good point. Good point. Actually, this is where I mentioned earlier. Do not confront and telling them. Remember, I mentioned about saving face
Yeah.
for Asians. So we don't tell them
Saving
that
face.
this is their pain points. So you got to ask them, and when you ask them, don't do it in a in a normal
Direct way.
meeting environment or whatsoever.
Hmm.
I will bring them for Starbucks and ask them, hey, and do a very casual one-to-one, conversation, asking them about this more in the confidential manner and so on. We absorb all of this idea, and they will feel, wow, at least my ideas has been accepted, and they will be supportive as well in all of your initiatives. I mean, there are many ways to skin a cat, so this is one of the way you can actually take a approach instead
Yeah.
of taking a very sensitive approach of announcing in front of everyone, hey, this department has these
You lost
weaknesses.
them. And that's
Yeah,
when you lost me at hello, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Remember, we are
So,
supposed to be the change makers. We are not just a manager or whatsoever. So we are there to bring change, and we are trying to bring something, in a holistic manner for the organization as well.
yeah, so depending on the unique situation and the unique person you're talking to, you need to like trade in carefully, see how things
Yeah,
are culturally, and then approach them using a way that's comfortable to them, that's not
right.
threatening, that's informal if necessary.
Yeah,
And that way you get their trust.
yeah, precisely. But as I said,
Yeah.
look into the cultural aspects. So some of the persons might not be an Asian leading this organization. Sometimes they
Mm.
use, external. Some people, the CEOs might be coming from US or Australia also. So you have to adjust yourself. Be flexible. There's no one solution for everyone. So you got to look at everyone's unique set of skills and their soft spots as well.
And that's another level of challenge when you have somebody as an expat managing a
Mm.
position, working in a different culture. So he will have barriers or she will have her barriers with the rest of the company. You have to tread in the middle of all of these carefully. So it's another level of
Yeah,
challenge.
correct. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
The first thing they will face is, even though he's a CEO or he or she is a CEO, their own resources might be reluctant to be open to them.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be a challenge in the Asian culture, Asia Pacific culture as well.
And your role is to make them aware of that how
Mm,
to help them in that too, so that you make
that's
it
right.
easy for them to communicate with the rest of their teams, right?
Precisely. That's our role, isn't it, as a PMO?
Mm.
Be what do you call um, the middle person between the business as well as the organization
So it's not
in
just
terms of
about
communication.
management, it's also about leadership and advice and consultations. It's not just about paperwork and plans and
Precisely.
charts. It's not just about that, is it?
Yeah, precisely. Yeah.
So all right, so going to zooming out of the Asia Pacific, how do you think COVID has actually influenced the current culture in with companies responding to wanting to improve their PMOs? How has PMOs been affected by COVID, Nehru?
Well, I might have a different view compared to all the news that I read. At the early stage of COVID, there was a lot of negative news. I'm losing my
Mhm.
job. What happens to my organization? It might close down, and they also reduce their number of headcounts. I mean,
Sure.
actually the data are there. There are a lot of negative news. Suicidal rates are increasing. Mental stress, mental health, all of
Yes,
these are issues. These are all the negative side of it. But if you really look at it, COVID is a project, isn't it?
it is.
So COVID itself is a project, and you notice outside there, a lot of community-based projects are being created. Even organization creates and provides food banks. Organization do digital transformation. There is one organization, their revenue used to be about 80 million per annum. And during COVID in 2020, from 80 million, they went down to 2 million. All
Oh,
right. And
oh my
guess
goodness.
guess what they did? They didn't
What
they
they
didn't
did,
fire anyone. They did digital transformation, and now they are back 60 million. right? Within 1 year. So there's a lot of initiatives we can actually take as part of these projects. I mean, this during this COVID time, instead of looking at negative aspect, we look at transformation. We look at, maybe your resources got to be upgraded in terms of their skills. Let them learn about PMO, how to manage multiple projects. All of these are areas that you go and look at certifications on PMO. All of these are some things that you can actually look at. And remember, this is, there is one famous quote that says, you know, um, "This too shall pass." Yeah, so COVID is not going to be permanent. It's just a phase. So we just, whenever there is a slack time in project management, you call this slack time, right? What do? Upgrade their skills, upgrade your resources skill, and get them ready when COVID is over. You
I
will
love
be
that.
flying. Yeah.
Yeah. Because this too shall pass, but the question is, how will it pass? What will I do until it passes? Like, will I just freeze? Will I just panic? Will I just improve my skills and resources? I have so many
Precisely.
options.
That's where the transformation comes in. Internally, you do a lot of activities, a lot of mini little projects that helps you to transform your organization. For example, as I mentioned just now, the digital transformation projects, or sending people for some trainings or skill upgrades. So these are some of the things that you can actually do. You can actually support your organization as well. There's one organization in Malaysia where they actually use their resources and say, go and do some other projects, outside projects, right? And they allow them to do that, but as long as it's a project and the organizations gets the branding out of it. So the more you do it, this organization gets the branding and they are getting themselves ready. Once the COVID is over, the branding is already created, right? So
And they keep
so get
your
yourself
mind
ready
fresh.
for, yeah.
Mm. Um, so do you think the existence of COVID has increased the need for PMOs or has decreased the need for PMOs?
Actually, it increased. If you observe, there's a number of organizations. There's two areas of the organization, right? Number one, those who have actually reduced their headcounts. Projects still exist. You still have to have a lot of organizational projects. Even your the yearly budget exercise is a project, right? And a lot of initiatives that you do, you need to have resources. So even though resources are being retrenched or they are losing their job, organization will still need projects. And sometimes what they do is they need to have one project manager running multiple projects. But here's where the PMO actually comes in. We assist in terms of supporting all the other projects within the organization as well. So the role of PMO is crucial, very crucial at this stage of the pandemic as well.
So with the reduced headcount, people who are still existing in the company, they actually need more support now, more knowledge,
Precisely.
more skills to be able to manage, because there are less people to manage with right now for them.
So who are they going to rely when it comes to support? I need this information, I need these templates, I need to present this in a coherent manner to the senior management. So that's where the support comes in from the PMO. I know some of them are doing like 5 or 6 major projects, not small projects, major projects. And because of all the other guys are retrenched, one head of department is actually taking up a few departments' work, and they are overstretched. They are overstretched, and who is going to support them?
They need support.
Yeah.
So it's becoming a necessity. It's not a luxury.
Yeah, precisely.
I have a couple of questions for you, Nehru. Somebody's asking me, how long does it take to create a PMO in an organization?
I have done it for an organization of almost like 1,000 resources in almost like 8 to 9 months only.
Wow.
Right. So that's because of their maturity level and their mindset. They are ready. They are saying, let's do it. So if you have that kind of support from the top level, we are able to do it. Right. And of course, some of them, this is a optimistic kind of thing, but I'm not saying every organization must do it within 6 months, 8 months, and so on. Take baby steps. Small wins are very important. Yeah, so get some success. Don't look at 1,000 projects and let's do it for big bang approach. Take a
Too much.
smaller approach. Maybe you go for 5 projects, 10 projects. Win over your management first. And once you get the support running, then you implement in all the other areas as well. Take a baby step.
Winning people is going to catalyze the entire process.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And like for companies who are actually wanting to, improve their PMOs or even creating their PMOs, what are the action steps that you advise them to do right now?
Actually, the most immediate step is, I would say the first thing is the direction is important. You must set your vision, mission. What are you really looking at? What are the things that you are really going to improve in your organization? Get that things done first. And then set up your PMO, set up your resources, and let the PMO have a proper roadmap. These are the projects. You might have so many projects, and from these projects, which projects you prioritize them, which projects actually going to deliver value for your organization. And then from there, you impress your management by giving them the result. And as I said, don't go big bang approach. Maybe you take 10% or 20%, show them the results. And once they get excited, they see a value in what you are doing in the PMO. They see your ROIs. Well, then they will say, okay, PMO is not just a support function kind of thing. They will start realizing, okay, actually you are improving in terms of organizational projects and their revenues and their benefits. Then once you get more and more support and friction, then you are able to do all the other areas as well. But take a milestone-based approach.
Can they do this on their own, Nehru, without support from somebody who is like a professional PMO like yourself, or people who are actually in the PMO consultancy accredited people? Can they do this on their own?
Actually, they can. I mean, every project managers, they can do it. If you look at it, everybody is a project manager. But a lot of people say, I'm not a project manager. I'm not PMP certified or whatsoever. But I tell them, and even small little kids, they are doing projects outside there. Even now, I'm actually looking outside my house. There are some kids actually planting some trees outside there. That's a project by itself. All right.
Yes.
So likewise, it doesn't have to be somebody who have to be certified or whatever. But the moment you are certified, you got more credibility because you know exactly what is the process. Planting trees, you don't need a certificate, but somebody who is PMP, they know the process of project management, they know how to do it more successfully. So similarly for PMOs, those who are certified, they know the exact process for a PMO. That will guarantee you more better results, right, for your organization. So you need to have these kind of resources as well.
How can people reach out for you, Nehru, when they need your help? How do they reach out for you? How do they find you?
As in me, as in consultant?
Yes, as you, as Nehru. Yes.
All right, okay. Actually, I do provide these kind of services as well. I do 2 types of service. Number one is I prepare your team to be a certified baseline PMO, and I provide the expertise. And my way of training is not, going through PowerPoint slide and so on. I never liked that way of training. I prefer to share experiences, whatever challenges that I've gone through in the last 30, 35 years of my life in managing PMOs. I'll share with them the challenges, do some case studies, and that's one thing I do in terms of training and certification. The other one that I do is I do consulting, as in I do come to organization, look at their pain point, get some ideas, feedbacks from all the relevant stakeholders, and then prepare your own team. I don't do it, but I facilitate. I prepare your own team and let them actually go through this entire process, and I coach them on how to implement the PMO in your organization as well. So two huge areas that we are looking at. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Nehru. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Nehru Nagappan. He's the CEO of MyPMGenie. If you need any help with your institutions or companies, just go ahead and reach out for him. He is so helpful. He is so fully booked. So the earlier, the better. All right. So looking forward to our next conversation, Nehru. It's beautiful as always,
Yeah,
and full of rich information. Thank you so much, Nehru, for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doa. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
See you in the next one. Bye-bye.